Hi, everyone. Welcome to BullCaster, a talk show for all crypto bulls. Here we discuss the most exciting industry topics with the best industry experts, influencers, and remarkable personalities. My name is Tina. I'm from the BullPerks team, and unfortunately, our co-host Konstantin was not be able to join us today, but hope to see him on the next episode. So let's begin. Today's topic is the metaverse and the revolution of e-commerce, and we are excited to introduce our special guest today, Travis Wu, co-founder of Highstreet, a brand new MMORPG that makes every Shopify-powered store a virtual shop in the gaming world, allowing physical-only Americans to gain hybrid exposure into a growing digital assets market. He's also a founder of Lumia VR, a virtual reality business with initiatives in the United States, Canada, and China. Travis has advised over 20 startups to date and is a seasoned investor in the DeFi and Metaverse space. We're also proud to share that Travis is one of the contributors to our Metaverse report released by GamesPad. So this is a lot going on. Thank you so much for coming, Travis. How are you today?
Hey, like I said, it's a bit early, but happy to be here.
Great. Okay. So let's begin maybe from this point. It's a pleasure to have you here. I know we're gonna discuss a lot of stuff. I know you have a lot to tell us and share. So our audience, at first, we're always eager to first know what's your background, and how you have entered the VR and metaverse space.
Yeah, of course. I started like many people in computer science, biomedical computing to be exact. So definitely a far cry from the metaverse. I've always had an interest in virtual worlds, and the ability to live in perpetual game worlds became a big interest to me during my studies. So prior to starting this, I had a computer vision company that merged real world and virtual worlds together, as you mentioned, Lumiere. And with Highstreet, we're basically kind of figuring out how do we create the most immersive experience possible with the current level of technology that we have today. For our more advanced users, we have native virtual reality support with compatibility with things like Cat VR's omnidirectional treadmill and also haptic feedback vest from like Haptics. We can build for all these things in mind, just so the more adventurous users can have all the things they have, their homes plugged into Highstreet. But of course, with the limitations of hardware, you can't really have a Ready Player One experience. For what it's worth, I think one thing that we might be able to achieve today in these sci-fi, projected futures is commerce. All the elements that constitute a good shopping experience is something that we do have today. And that's kind of why Highstreet focuses so much on commerce and retail right
now. Okay, that's very amusing. It's always so thrilling to hear various individual stories, how they began their journey, and I'm pretty sure yours will be truly inspiring to the majority. So thank you for that. I recently read that according to Gartner, 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day for, in the metaverse for work or education or shopping or social media by 2026. So it means that the commerce will likely blossom in the metaverse space. What is your vision of the current state of commerce in the metaverse?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think within Web3, most people are pretty comfortable by now with the idea of digital asset ownerships. However, I think most of that came from the desire to flip for profit. A lot of people got into the space and bought NFTs and stuff like that because they think they can make more money by selling it for a higher price to someone else. This is not to say Web3 users don't hold sentimental value for their NFTs. In fact, I think as the market, goes south and, things are a little bit harder to sell, people have generally actually started to develop a stronger connection with their assets. They start to hold on to it more, they spend more time with it, and therefore develop some kind of emotional attachment to it, just like they would a physical product. So similarly, however, though, downturn of the market basically means it's harder to pull new users in because, likewise, they also need the ability to flip in order to first get attracted and enter the space. Thus, I think the idea of digital asset ownership is still vastly foreign and alien to the general public. The reason why digital assets is so important to us right now is because I think they bridge the gap between digital ownerships and what we have today. So if your digital items or your NFTs or your kind of in-game assets are pegged to something physical, then it's easier to see value in it. And I think that's kind of our take on how do we bridge the gap from the general public to becoming more crypto native, and also just in general understanding what it means to own something digitally.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I also heard recently that e-commerce giant Amazon that we know of has incorporated early metaverse technology into its marketplace. They released an augmented reality shopping tool named Room Decorator, which allows people to use their phone or tablet to see what furniture and other home decor would look like in their space. This is mind-blowing. So I'm super excited. This is so fascinating. I cannot wait. So,
yeah, I mean, that has been around for a long time. Like IKEA has been doing that since, I would say 2016. But the idea is, I think like tiny little AR tools where you can pop up on your phone to essentially place an object or place a furniture and things like that. This is not new. This is kind of computer vision based tech using SLAM to identify areas where you can fit a 3D model that's scaled in real life, or life scale. And I think like, to call that a metaverse is definitely a far cry from it. This is simply, a camera overlay trick. But you're right. I think as bigger companies and kind of e-commerce giants, tech companies alike start exploring with the peripheral technology of using these VR AR technologies, I think like perhaps the general public will catch on and get used to these things, and eventually, as headsets become more proliferated, the entry point into the metaverse will become clear.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. Agreed. Okay, Travis, in your opinion, so brands have always been striving to create cohesive experiences between e-commerce and stores and social media, as you know. How does the metaverse help resolve this today?
Yeah, so for us, we have three main models of commerce in Highstreet. The limited edition marketplace that most people are familiar with uses the bonding curve. And this model essentially is ideal for celebrities and influencers who have a large following, and can use this platform as a way to launch a new brand or product line. Since buying and selling moves the price in real time up and down a quadratic curve, this means that we have automated price discovery for the brand, but also, a method of ensuring liquidity for the buyer. So it's not like an NFT where you get stuck with it forever. You can always sell it. We can't guarantee the price you sell it at, but you'll always be able to sell this product. We also recently launched a collaboration with 8-Bit and department stores around the world. And, this is kind of like a metaverse portal concept. We target a general public who might have heard of NFTs but aren't quite sure how to jump into the space. With special tags on clothing items, allowing regular shoppers to claim unique digital items within Highstreet. It's basically a process to guide people into minting their first NFTs, as well as using it within the metaverse space. So that's kind of our other method of interacting with brands and stores. And finally, we have, it's something also for our existing Web3 users who are already in the metaverse. So basically, combining it with a gaming front end, with on-chain kind of payment elements, we kind of built a plugin on top of e-commerce infrastructures like Shopify. So later this month, we're going to unveil Highstreet Campus, and everyone will basically get to try this out. Buying a product within any of the stores in Campus is essentially going to cost you high tokens, but behind the scenes, we're actually directly paying out these merchants on Shopify into their dashboards with fiat. So it's a new model that essentially allows us to scale to all Shopify storefronts, which I think over like 60% of e-commerce is powered by them or something like that. So something we're pretty excited to kind of test out and roll out with. And yeah, like that's kind of how we set up the basis and the backbone for transactions and commerce. But of course, as we have all these layers done, it's all about building more brand experiences on top of it. We call them attractions. So any brand coming to us is essentially kind of like building their own Disneyland in a way. Attractions that make sense to their brand story, that intertwines with our lore. That's kind of what we're doing right now. So yeah, it's vastly exciting, and we're hoping to establish some kind of standard of working with brands, as we progress into the next couple of years.
Very interesting model. I'm pretty sure our audience is keeping up with Highstreet. So I'm pretty sure they're super excited to see, what you guys are about to like come up, or what you guys are about to come up with, right, to the market. What's the next move and everything. So we're excited to hear that. Okay, so the next question will be, as we can see, like retailers should seriously consider adopting the metaverse. A recent survey by Google shows that 66% of people say that they're interested in using augmented reality when they're shopping. That's pretty much what we just discussed. Moreover, Shopify revealed that interactions with products that have 3D content showed 94% higher conversion rate than those without it. So people are, super interested and they're keen on the idea of using like augmented reality while shopping. Please tell us why customers might love shopping in the metaverse so much.
Yeah, I mean, like you can look at the overall evolution of shopping. So I don't know about the 3D assets and 3D components that you mentioned, because obviously if I go on Amazon and I want to buy a product and you only give me a front-facing 2D view of a product, I'm probably not as inclined to want to buy it. But if you tell me what it looks like on the back, on the side, then most likely I'm a little bit more confident in this product you're selling. So I don't think that has anything to do with the metaverse exactly, but I totally understand what the stats is trying to point out. I think shopping in the metaverse comes from a different angle. If you look at the evolution of shopping, traditionally you had malls, and decades ago, some smart people came up with the idea of curating a bunch of stores in one building, and all of a sudden people flocked to that one location, and modern shopping was born. Restaurants started popping up, theaters and stuff like that around that hub, and that became a place that people gather. It's a very social element. You go to these shopping malls to discover new brands and new products, like an adventure. But then with the rise of the internet, with Web 2, essentially, Amazon gave one swipe checkouts to everybody, which means you don't go to the mall anymore. You type into that little search box what you want, and within a couple of seconds, you're done shopping. So we kind of removed the entire social and adventurous element of shopping from that equation. And I think the metaverse is kind of bringing it back in. We retain the same efficiency as e-commerce-based checkouts, right? With crypto, with one click, with whatever it is that you have set up in your wallet, you're done. You can make payments, and shipping information is saved and all that stuff. So it's actually quite easy to kind of see the future of virtual shopping. But at the same time, because it's an in-game world, it's something that you can go with friends. You can travel to vastly different worlds, whether it's a shop underwater or flying in the sky. You can go with friends to adventure, discovering new brands and stuff like that. Virtual try-on is hassle-free. So, in a way, I think like we're going to bring back the social element of shopping that was so prevalent so many years ago back into the equation of retail. So that's probably where I see most excitement coming from for brands as well, right? Before, a lot of big companies, luxury boutiques and stuff like that, they come up with all these ways of customizing and curating a shopping journey for their customers. And all of a sudden with e-commerce, you level the playing field for a bunch of other brands, but then you find it hard to differentiate again. So with this, I think you finally can leverage the power of e-commerce plus differentiate with a curated shopping experience for your loyal fans. So that's kind of what I see.
Yeah, that's cool. All I can add to this question for myself is that I absolutely hate physical shopping. This
Yeah.
is so time consuming and just unbelievable. As a kid, I used to hate it too because it was taking so much time. But yes, I do believe that the metaverse can easily resolve this problem by allowing you to buy things after viewing them in this huge three-dimensional space. You can estimate the benefits of this clothing you're about to buy, and it can help you decide whether it's worth buying or no within minutes. And what's the coolest thing about it is that you can do this without the need of leaving your house. But at the same time, yes, I completely agree with you as to the socialism, social aspect of this. This whole process of shopping is much more pleasant when you're with your friends. You guys are like having fun and hang out and all that. So yeah, that's interesting. Although many leading brands like Samsung, Coca-Cola, Gucci, and Nike have already started building shopping experiences in the metaverse. Many of them stay away from this innovation at the same time, like other brands, right? So, what are the main roadblocks for retailers on the way to metaverse, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think the fixation of large brands is a bit of a mistake, and a lot of startups tend to like paying a lot of money for these brands to have a presence on their platform, or collaborations with them and stuff like that. But if you think of the metaverse as a movement, and VR AR technology, for example, as a tool and technology to revolutionize commerce, then you should really be focusing on smaller brands, boutique brands, new brands that will leverage this movement to join the ranks of these blue chip companies or even surpass them, right? The bigger the company, the slower they move. It's obvious in every single industry. So chasing after them for validation is kind of going against the principle of innovation in the first place. So I think it's a balance in both. Big companies will do it for PR, and obviously famous companies will do it for money. But I think like at the end of the day, try to build something that's actually useful that the next generation can use or up and coming brands can use. I think that's probably something that we should be spending more time on. So yeah, that's kind of my take on this.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, and I'm pretty sure the last question I want to ask, right, before we continue with our community questions is, please share with us what brands and projects have inspired you to build e-commerce experiences in the metaverse.
Yeah, so well, I guess like on a brand side, I really like Shopify. The democratization of e-commerce so that anyone can launch a store or something like that is super empowering, and I think that's probably why we choose to integrate Shopify first. The backend system they set up that's plugged into so many e-commerce platforms out there is just such a strong tool, and for us to be able to kind of identify a plugin that we can build connecting to Highstreet through there is something that is a no-brainer for us. So yeah, really like what they're doing. On the gaming side, I really enjoyed playing MapleStory growing up. It's a super wacky game that essentially put all the things that don't belong together, and it's an MMORPG game. It's very 2D, but we kind of, as we build our world in 3D, we kind of have that in mind. And a lot of it is definitely inspired by kind of the storytelling that we've enjoyed growing up playing that game. So that's kind of the big inspirations behind the two components of Highstreet.
Right, this is very cool. I myself can remember playing in my childhood, only this game Sims, if you remember. And
yeah, of course.
It kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of a synonym to metaverse. I remember wanting to be there with them, with all those people, and just shopping with them or living life with them, basically, because it was so easy. You could just buy a car in a second, and all problems solved. Okay, thank you very much, Travis, for sharing your vision and experience with us. Now it's time for our community to write all your questions, you guys, in the live chat. Please feel free. And let me check what we have for now. Okay, so the first question is from Raphael from YouTube. As an early metaverse adopter, what do you want your legacy to be when you retire? When people talk about it years later, what are your primary accomplishments in the metaverse space? And what future goals do you have that seem still far away but 100% determined? There's so many questions at the same time.
Yeah, I think for people like us, we don't think about retiring. We don't retire. We just keep building. And the reason is just because there's always something else to build, and there's always something that's unfinished and incomplete. I think like it's always about a trajectory and a vision. We all have seen sci-fi films. We've looked at Ready Player One. We've looked at things like Sword Art Online, and that's kind of like a world that everybody imagines the metaverse should be. We're not there yet. So before we get there, I think there's always more and more room for improvement. And even after we get there, there's probably a few things that we could fix here and there as well. For us right now, in the short-term aspect of things, I just want to do commerce, right? I just want to make a standard for shopping within a virtual gaming world, right? How do you tie a brand's kind of product and core values into the existing game lore without making it sound like advertisement? How do you perpetuate a shopping experience that intertwines the actual physical items that the brands are selling directly with the in-game experience, right? How do in-game items connect to physical products? Like these are all questions that we're experimenting and testing with right now. And our hypothesis, tells us that this is the right move, but we have to really validate it through testing and actual users. So we're kind of excited to just be able to do this first. In the long run, I think we're all passionate about all the peripherals that are being sold these days, whether it's haptic feedback gloves or vests that allow you to feel all the bullets when you get shot in virtual reality. We love this type of stuff, and we're really hoping that we can establish systems where everybody at home or VR arcades or something like that allows you to plug into Highstreet fully immersed and to give you a second a second shot at living a fantasy life or something like that. I think in the long run, if we can provide this experience for everybody where you can live infinite lives, so to speak, then I'd be pretty thrilled.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, we have a next question from Capital Hodl. Captain Hodl. Are you expecting a dramatic change in people's online shopping experience in the upcoming years? If so, what will be the main reason behind this forthcoming shift? Like, as we were talking about the social aspect of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think people's shopping trend has been changing all the time. I think the biggest catalyst for that shift is definitely the pandemic. We've seen how many people convert to e-commerce, right? The older folks who are never really shopping online became addicted to Amazon and stuff like that. We saw that from just the numbers rising, ludicrously through the past couple of years. So I would say it's already changed, and I've seen how crypto shopping looks like, right? You look at OpenSea and you look at how people click away and just look at the floor, look at what they like, and then people are just essentially clicking 2-3 buttons, and because it's in Ethereum, you abstract away from the dollar amount, and all of a sudden buying becomes this this thing where it's almost like spending casino chips, right? You don't realize you're spending actual money. So I think within the metaverse world, it's very similar. If you're using high tokens, or later we have in-game currency called Street that we might launch kind of soon this year, but essentially when you start looking at these things and spending these currency, you don't really remember or notice that you're spending money. So I think that's probably going to be a very dangerous but big shift in shopping behavior. Another thing is when you buy in-game items that's actually tied to a physical good. So let's say you buy an armor, but that's actually a sweater in real life. That's also going to be something interesting, right? Imagine the psychology behind it. Okay, I'm buying this in-game items, but I'm guilty about it. But actually, no, it's a physical product. I actually can use it in real life. Therefore, you remove that guilt. So that back and forth, within your mind, I think is also a big game changer. Every time people buy skin in the game, I think it's exciting at first, but then you always have that guilty feeling afterwards, like, what am I actually doing? But then if you provide a physical element to it, then I think that also changes things. So yeah, I am expecting big changes. I don't know how fast, but we'll see how fast we can build, right?
Yeah, correct. Like, stay self-aware and conscious of what you're buying, because just to make sure it grows in value with time, so that you have any ideas what to do with it furthermore, right? We have a question from Octavian Roska from YouTube. What is Highstreet's approach to keep the chain as less congested as possible in terms of digital minting? At what point is the minting done?
Yeah, it's a super good question. And if we do a drop, it's congested. It's just a thing that happens. So instead, for most of the products that we're doing, you don't actually mint when you buy. So all the in-game items in Highstreet are actually off-chain first. They're just in-game assets, and they sit in your inventory. Now you can just use it for free in the game. You don't have to mint it. You don't have to do anything, and it just sits as in-game assets within your wallet or within your inventory. Sorry. And the moment you want to trade it on a secondary market elsewhere, you can drag and drop it from your inventory into your wallet, and that action itself is what actually mints the token. And likewise, when you bring it back into Highstreet, obviously, we just register it's in your wallet, and there's some validation process. Sometimes you want to trade in game, you might have to escrow it, but besides that, honestly, we remove the congestion just by just having everything done off chain. We'd like to see a decentralized MMORPG at some point, but like you said, the congestion is a problem. The speed is a problem. Great tool, great ledger, but yeah, there's just not a lot of things we can do right now immediately to solve this issue. So we'll probably keep watch on how the future of blockchain technology works. But we're in a business mostly of metaverse gaming, virtual reality, and stuff like that. So fixing congestion problem from a layer one standpoint probably isn't going to be something we focus on.
Got it. Well, we hope turns out well for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The next question is the Wolf Slayer from YouTube. When do you think P2E will start to roll out? And by that, I mean the way that players can live in Highstreet full time.
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that question one more time? Like when or?
Okay, sure. When do you think P2E, play to earn, will start to roll out? And by that, I mean the way that players can live in Highstreet full time.
I see. So play to earn is going to be rolling out slowly. So what I would say is we're going to start small, and there's a few things we need to test out within the in-game economy as well. So first, I think like we're going to release small batches, maybe in furniture play to earn. So for example, you buy a punching bag, but that punching bag actually transforms into a monster, and you can battle this monster daily to earn money. And essentially how that works is you're actually testing in-game mechanics for us. We have a lot of combat system that we have in internally right now that we're testing, but nothing's really polished enough for us to show with the public. You might have seen some videos with like archery and stuff like that. That's really simple, but we have punching as well. We have like brawler type skills and all sorts of weird things that we're building. But the problem with that is, I think like right now we're struggling really hard to combine browser-based experiences plus virtual reality. And we built a really cool experience for VR, but then all of a sudden it doesn't quite work for browser, or maybe it's just unfair. So if someone's firing an arrow by pressing the space bar, and someone else has to draw, pull back, and shoot and release in virtual reality, doesn't really make a very fair gameplay, does it? Right? So there's a lot of things we're tackling right now that requires actual testing. From the wider audience and seeing how things will actually play out in the real world. So what we're doing right now is basically releasing these furniture pieces that you can purchase, and it will sit in your Highstreet homes, and you can just play. And as you play, you earn, but at the same time, we're gaining knowledge on how people actually use these kind of game mechanics. That's probably how things will start. Beyond this, though, like I think like the MMO component where you have monsters to attack and stuff like that, probably somewhere around spring next year. We have a bunch of monsters being created, and I think we'll release bits and pieces of it during the Highstreet campus release, Halloween events or stuff like that. We'll start teasing things here and there. But I think like until the entirety of Highstreet City, or at least 2 or 3 districts within Highstreet City, is kind of built out and released to the public, we probably wouldn't do too much of this. It's just because you have to balance the amount of stores, amount of shops. So you have, things to buy and things to purchase, and ways to advance your skill tree and stuff like that before any of this makes sense. So MMO is a massive feat, right? It's probably one of the hardest games to build in terms of functions and systems. And we're trying our best to keep up with delivery and content updates to the community, but it is a really, really tough task. So, bear with us. We will have fun things for everybody, but to fully live in Highstreet, I would say, give it a year. That's at least our current roadmap. We have 2 or 3 regions released, and Highstreet City obviously completed. Abundance of brands moving in, rotational stores and stuff like that, so you can keep buying new things. We have a lot of food and beverage companies in in our arsenal right now that we're discussing with. So we're hoping that, besides buying clothing and stuff like that, you can also buy food to sustain yourself in real life. So it's something that we're working on. But it's a good question. We're excited for bringing that to everybody for sure.
That's so fascinating to hear about the furniture and food and everything. That's so cool. Okay, I guess not sure how much time we have left, but let me ask you the next question. Who are the biggest sponsor and influencers in your metaverse at the moment?
Wait, say that one more time. Yeah, sorry, my internet keeps cutting out here and there, so I always miss like 2-3 words.
It's okay. It's okay. Who are the biggest sponsors and influencers in your metaverse at the moment?
Okay. I think like sponsors and influencers is a bit of a strange world. It's kind of like asking, World of Warcraft who their biggest sponsors are. I mean, we fund everything ourselves, so we don't really seek outside sponsorship and stuff like that. We have a lot of big kind of brand engagements. We don't focus on that right now. We're gonna announce, a batch of it probably near the end of the year, just as our event space is ready, because we're doing like conferences and stuff like that with other people. But in general, everything we do is self-made, self-built. We don't really, look at sponsorship packages and stuff like that. We're just kind of building it ourselves. I think we have done enough over, the last probably year in crypto. I mean, obviously, compared to like Sandbox and Decentraland, we're quite young. We're only about a year old, and I think like us our journey towards listing, on Binance and Coinbase and stuff like that did require a lot of influencers. But I think like, we have an arsenal of 150, I think, in our pockets still, and they basically just retweet here and there. I wouldn't say that there's like a biggest sponsor, like Mr. Block, for example, is a big influencer in Asia. We have Lark Davis, who's always been super supportive on the crypto side and in more of the Western sphere of influence. But it's hard to say kind of who the biggest one really is. Maybe if you ask our community team, they can tell you. But from a product standpoint, I haven't really been privy to understanding those numbers in quantifiable means.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, so we still have some questions left, and they're very I love them honestly, but unfortunately we have to wrap up. Thank you so much, Travis. Anything to announce? Anything to plug in?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and everyone is asking some great questions comparatively to other communities, so I thoroughly enjoy this. But I think like announcement wise, we do have our IHO coming up for Animoca, so that's pretty exciting. It's a big RV. I wanted to stream in from the RV today, but my internet just keeps cutting out for some reason. I don't know what's going on with Canada right now, but yeah, the RV sale is coming up. It's really fun because you have different models powered by different power sources, solar, electric, crystal, and stuff like that. And within it, there's all like luxury leisure rooms. You have an ice room or a sensory deprivation tank. You have all these fun things that you can enjoy in virtual reality. Plus, on a browser if you want to just show your friends. So definitely stay tuned and follow that. On top of that, campus launch is coming up soon. We're going to start a big campaign starting from the 6th to do a big countdown. And yeah, this is the first time. There's no NFT gates or anything. You can just come in. No home ownership requirement. And yeah, this is the first time people can see the Highstreet lore and the city in development in real time and stuff like that. So we're excited to push that out to everybody. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And we hope to see everyone there.
Sounds incredible. I hope our audience, keeps it in mind and goes for an action. Thank you everyone for joining BullCaster today, a crypto talk show with our investors, partners, and remarkable personalities. Listen to us at 3 p.m. UTC on YouTube Live every 2 weeks. Thank you so much, Travis. See you next time.
Awesome. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.